Grand rise, and divine and blessed be to the day, to the gods, the goddesses, the titans, the brujas, the shamans, the adepts, the initiates, whatever you are, be the best at it. And remember, today is the only day that matters, because you are the only one that matters, because everything is a reflection of this point. Everything is a reflection of you to learn from. And one of the key aspects that we're going to get into on this episode of the God Hour podcast is loopholes. Energy gallery is the I put it in parentheses. But that aspect of we're getting into just what is being at this level, being in this space, living in your true self, outside of having the knowledge and actually applying the knowledge. What are you building with the knowledge? How are you taking yourself forward and creating that example to set forward rather than just coining the phrase? Just coining the phrase, well, you don't have to say it if you are it. That's what we're gonna get into. Because it's really been on my mind. I did meditate and elevate the other morning, and it really's been on my mind a lot lately, going into after I did last week's lecture. And that's something that really needs to be discussed. It needs to be brought to the light from that dark space, so we can't hide behind these loopholes. These factors in our life that allow us to move and do the things that we do to save face. Remember, we're killing our identity here. We're killing our humanity here. So stay tuned, turn it up. Stay tuned for the God Thought, then this week's weekly reading. And then we gonna get into this. I'm Papa Lucy. I'm your master of ceremonies. And again, welcome to the God Hour. Season 3, episode 27. That's my lucky number. Loopholes. More after this. Let's get ready. Fresh God thought, fresh off the thought process of the God Alchemist, Papa Lucy. I was asked today by a beautiful goddess. She asked me, can you become entangled in your spirituality? And I took the thought, took it in. I was like, the only thing that you can become entangled in is based upon your ego. Your ego can leave you entangled within the trends of the external state that we've been going over of the status quo. What it is to be woke. What it is to be conscious. Consciousness simply means to be aware. So to say that you are aware of something, I can argue the factoid that my 4-year-old niece is aware. My 5-year-old nephew can say that they're aware of something based on, but what are you doing with the aspect in that context of, okay, now that you're aware, where is your enlightenment? Enlighten me on something. Enlighten me, or bring light to something, or a new information on something other than the status quo. Because I'm looking at things from a whole different perspective, from a truly enlightened perspective. So when I see things, I see ways to always feed from it. So there's no time for me to actually sit there and go back and forth over everything. I find my middle point, understand the transparency, and then go from from there. We find loopholes, and we're gonna get deep in that today. We find these loopholes to stay where we're at. A lot of people find loopholes to stay where they're at. Well, baby, because of this, and remember this happened to me. They find loopholes to ultimately stay within the trauma. And that is, it becomes a saddening aspect that we have to do that. It was a very good question. Can you become entangled in your spirituality? No. The entanglement, coming out of the entanglement of humanity requires acknowledging those things that you were tangled in based on binding to stay on one thing or the other and living inside of it. There's no benefit after you get it. You need to energy gouge to stay within that space. And that's what I see a lot of the times when I see a lot of these arguments going back and forth. I see energy gouging. And yeah, it's something that has been on my mind a lot lately. As I said earlier, this has been on my mind lately. And it made me think about the loopholes. These aspects of staying within a space that you can now energy gouge or allow your energy to be siphoned from. But we don't get into that and a lot more. But not before I give you a weekly reading. I see a lot of abundance in this reading going forward. If it resonates with you, take the information that you get and apply it. Study, research, apply. Study all, follow none. Stay tuned for the weekly reading. Welcome to the God. You know we always taking off. When it comes to that weekly reading. This reading is talking about those loopholes in your life that you find yourself stuck in. And I want to bring some clarity to that going out throughout the week of those loopholes. As you pull that reading, this reading that's speaking to me right now is the Empress, the Nine of Coins, the Eight of Coins, the King of Coins, and the Eight of Cups. I'm seeing and feeling a lot of abundance in this one. Going forward in the matters of your opportunity. In the context of old loopholes, we try to find and get stuck in those aspects. The Empress speaks of our new opportunity that will be brought. The new opportunity, nurturing. That's the feminine energy coming into that. That's that feminine energy. That's that Venus energy coming in there. Nurturing that abundance. The Nine of Coins the Nine of Coins brings to us the stability and the security in our personal pursuits. In standing in a manner of financial. We're coming into that understanding that the investment of our energy in these very pursuits. So bringing more clarity into that aspect, the Empress, we understand those new opportunities that are coming forth, that's going to bring that stability and security. Shown by the Eight of Coins, that refers to undergoing and addressing the old loophole. The old things that got you caught up in the beginning. This is a point in time for you to address those things, bring that energy to the surface. It is not based upon staying stuck within it. As you're calling your energy back to you, the key to being confident in that aspect is, what am I calling back to? Where am I bringing my energy back from? That's what a lot of things when I look at the head from. You're doing all of this work, and you want to call your energy back to you. You want to bring yourself back to a certain point. What was in that point in the first place that you have to deal with based on that Nine of Coins? And now is no more important than ever to sit firm like the king of coins. You've done all of this work for a reason. You put yourself into this space for a reason. You've done that shadow work. You're doing that shadow work. You're doing that healing. You're doing that aspect for a reason. That space has been created for a reason. Staying confident in your answer. Staying confident in what you have put forward. The king of coins represents that seeing that growth and seeing that success and going forward. What have you done to this point? It doesn't matter what others are feeling about you. It doesn't matter if someone feels about you left that person or you left that job. You left that job for a better clarity for yourself. You left that relationship for better clarity yourself. You cut off those friends for better clarity for yourself. Make sure you're doing it from an aspect of healing and not from an aspect of trauma. As we look at the new vision requires the sacrifice of old sites and paradigms. You are not there. You're simply not there anymore. You're simply not there anymore. All that wealth, all that energy that you feel shifting, it isn't the flow that was the problem. It isn't the energy itself was the problem. As pointed out by the Eight of Cups. The feeling of disappointment will always try to lead you to recede based upon your identity and your ego, a feeling of abandonment. You'll go back to those moments. Remember, when that energy comes through and it hits a certain point, it's telling you something that you gotta work on. So that feeling of abandonment that you're feeling right now, that feeling of being lost that you're feeling right now, is something that you gotta deal with at this moment in time in order to usher in that new abundance, usher in and see that new opportunity, seize that day, sit firm in your confidence. Because it's easy and it's okay to try to find withdrawal because you've done it before. But this time when you're finding withdrawal, that escape, make sure it's not in those old ways. The old ways that you used to deal with things, make sure it's not in them old ways. The thought that comes to my mind is that you look and you shall find. It comes to mind while I'm doing this reading. The further you go ahead, the more you feel lost. You aren't lost. You're being found. You may feel negative for separating. Understand that shit does not serve you. Understand that shit don't serve you anymore. That's why you're moving forward in this first place. The loopholes to stay in the misery of existence have closed. It's time to embrace the new opportunities. Allow what needs to fall away, to go into that alignment. Your stability. Undergo the process. Trust that process. Take yourself through that necessary process. Let it happen. Let everything that needs to happen. Let it all fall out. As you're sitting there creating yourself and you're creating from that future aspect, that's ashes on the ground, where you create it. Don't go back, go forward. The way this line is looking at, the lineup, everything's always in your favor. You just gotta deal with what comes up. Everything's in your favor, ultimately. You must first deal with the things that are siphoning your energy or with the energy gouging we're about to get into to go forward with all of your abundance, with your prosperity and your wealth. This has been that weekly reading. Stay tuned for this week's topic, Loopholes. We don't get deeper in. Peace. You feel like you got a voice, feel like you got something to say? Feel like you have something that can move the masses or get everybody tuned in and you want a bigger audience? Whether it can be anything from something like the God Hour or anything from like sports, news, fashion week, whatever it may be. Let me put you on to something. The easiest way to do it is with the Anchor app. Biggest thing about it is free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will even do all of the distribution for your podcast for you so it can be heard on many other platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
You can make money. You also can make money from your podcast with a minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. It's everything you need to get your voice heard and get what you feel that's in your heart and enter to your heart out to the masses. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
I can feel it calling me. Album coming soon. Actually, album's never coming soon. But anyway, yeah, we just got through with the aspects of the middle point of transparency. Understanding that middle point of transparency, or gaining that middle point for that clarity, understanding that this neutral position and the positive and negative points as they connect to this position, is it based upon the fear or is it based upon trauma? When we think about these waves, you think about a fear wave is fast. So that neutral point that's in between that fear, everything that gets brought upon that fear is nice and fast. It's fast. It's quick feeling, it's quick acting. So everything that hits that neutral point or that center point, that your neutral point where you're at, that axis where you're at, all your information hits that point, but you never have time to actually absorb knowledge, and you never have time to absorb knowledge, and you never have time to actually nurture that knowledge. This is the aspect based upon fear. This is based upon fear, oppression, struggle, hate, and all of these other aspects that are within that point. So when you start thinking about trends are based upon this same algorithm. A trend is based upon that same algorithm. Get in and get out. So this trend of being woke, it's a reflection of the point. It's a reflection of the standpoint of being in that space for too long. When you're in a space and you have to, when you are in a space based upon fear of growth and you don't want to step forward, you have to live within that fear. Remember, you become what you are around. So for me to be into a position, me sitting in my living room right now, giving you this lecture, what the fuck do you mean? All of the things that I used to do, all of the energy that I used to put in everything else, calling that energy back to me based upon my work ethic. My work ethic was never the issue. The energy was never an issue. It was where I was putting my energy in based upon the knowledge that I had. Once I succeeded that space, that's when I started getting constricted, angry, even angrier. I was getting mad. I was always irritated. I hated my job based on the aspects of the lack of knowledge that I had in order to step away from it. So I was actually just reacting to the environment. I was living within an environment, staying within the environment, because as I was acquiring the knowledge, a little bit of ego death had to hit me that I didn't know enough to do anything else with. I had enough information to literally say that I was conscious, basically. I had enough information to say that I was aware of something. And it was good at certain points in time, because when I was in that position, someone would ask me a question and I give them an answer. But the answer, it sounded good to give them the answer that I gave them. But when it came to them answering follow-up questions, I really couldn't answer the question. I really couldn't answer the question because I didn't have an example set. All I could say was, well, we were the original, certain aspects like that, but I couldn't give an aspect because I didn't create anything. So it gave me the ego death to my humanity, saying, nigga, you can be aware, you can be conscious, but you only calling yourself a god out of lack for another title to stick within that position. It wasn't until I actually started creating content started creating content and becoming that bearer of new light that I could start doing the real shadow work. It wasn't until there was other reflections of showing that it wasn't until I was humble enough to see the reflections of the things that I needed to see in that space to learn from. I found my middle point. Finding your middle point is that key, because the middle point is your nexus point. That's everything that you're going to springboard off of. Since I was in a space and I was still hurt and I was still going through a lot of hurt and a lot of different pains until I became into my divine masculine state, I was acting based off of those traumas. I was speaking things based upon those traumas. So whenever a situation came up, the only time that I spoke on certain things was to make myself look the part. After a while, that shit started to subside. That ego death started to subside. And more things started opening up. I could start seeing how my words were actually reflecting based on how I moved. So if I said something based upon elevation or reflection or the things that I was saying in that manner within that space, I could see that I was actually living in my spiritual aspects. I wasn't entangled within the humanity trying to make it work there. I had no, even back then, before I actually realized it, hit that moment of enlightenment, I realized there was no going back. I was saying more and more things, and I was accepting that there was no going back. One point in time came to me at my job that I made the announcement at a manager meeting, that I'm changing my schedule around because I'm going to be focusing more on building my personal training thing at the time. Just that was in the first part. That was my first step. I'm going to be working on my stuff more. I'm at a point in time right now where I can step away. The aspects within that space, based on how I came into that position, were no longer feasible. Because the first, like I told people before, when I got my last job working at a Red Lobster, I just came out of being basically homeless. I just came out of my infrastructure crumbling, everything falling apart. So when I came into that position, at no point in time did I ever show, even though it was used from like when my boss was like, yo, he's going through some things. My boss never really even said talked about my status or my position. He's like, he's a good worker. Like, he simply allowed my works to go for me. He's a good worker. He's going through some harsh, but he's a good, he is that guy. So when I went into that position, based on what my old boss had told me, told them, when I went in there, I could stand on my own true self, standing in my position. I didn't take anything back from back then into that position. I didn't allow any of that stuff to be into my contract, my new contract that I set for myself. I set my terms based upon, this is my aspect of healing. That shit's gone. So all of that shit back there don't even exist to me anymore. So when I came into this position, there was no loopholes or holes for somebody to tether anything to. And then it started showing. So this gave me more clarity in observing that when I made the statement that I'm going to be cutting my hours back, my own hours back, what came from it? I've already learned simply from the aspects of the sacrificing to invest into something greater. I already learned that sacrifice was needed. So now that I sacrificed before, I got myself to a position where I was only spending, I think my checks were looking like somewhere between $300 and $400 a week, because we got paid every week. I was getting paid between $300 and $400 every week. I got myself down to an aspect or to a point where I was only spending the maximum of $135 a week. That included my haircut. That included my lifts and my Ubers or cabs or the bus fare to work. That included my lunch, my food. That included keeping my laundry clean. That included all of these aspects I needed to take care of. So I was up to about $135 a week just to spend. So all the other money I could put into savings. I can keep in the checking account. I can make for other things. That contingency, I built my contingency for myself. So when my boss had hit me with giving me less than 40 hours a week, I was already used to working. I was already in the mindset of 35 hours a week. So when he cut me down to about 25 hours a week, there was no sweat on my chin. There was no sweat off me. I wasn't like, man, fuck him. He trying to deal with me. He trying to mess with my money, mess with me. He don't want me to grow. He don't want to see me elevate. Didn't care. Those words didn't even cross my lips. Those thoughts didn't even enter my mindset because I already set myself to spend $135 a week. When I got down to about 25, 30 hours a week, he cut me down to about 25 hours a week, but needed for me for about 32. That still gave me the money that I needed to set to the side and the money that I needed to sustain within that space. So he did me a favor, not even realizing it. This is the aspect of me being based in balance so my energy cannot be gouged and put into other positions. I wasn't tethered to anything in that space or in that position that he could feed from. Everybody that was there under that thought process that he had something on them. They had kids, they had legal problems, they had aspects that something was wrong with them. They had things that they needed that space to survive. So he had that over them. Remember, the hand that feeds you, the hand that can starve you. So when I got to the position, it was happening to me, and I'm still coming to work. Nothing changed. I was still coming to work on time, early, come to work early, leave work late, do everything that I was supposed to be doing, that I was tasked to do in that period of time, and there was no sweat. And then he started looking at me differently. The culinary manager looked at me and was like, "You okay?" Like, yeah. Why wouldn't I be okay? Because she knew what he was doing. They knew what he was doing, but they were like, I can't risk my position. I was like, there's no need to. It never crossed my mind. In the long run, I mean, I was the last one standing. In the long run, he ended up getting knocked off for doing some shit he wasn't supposed to be doing. She got knocked off for follow behind him. Everybody got knocked off for following behind him. Living in that shadow, living in that space, not dealing with what they needed to deal with. Not using those aspects to learn from. Blind and staying stuck in that position, stuck within the trend. Well, I was there up until this March. And then now I launched the company. This happened with over a 3-4 year period of time. Everything that I was gaining in that point in time, I was learning and applying it in real time to everything I was reading. Made my own rise and took myself to the next level. So what's really oppressing me? You dig? Like, this is the aspect that we need to come into when you coming into yourself and understanding your new energy. People are going to be around you. They're not going to support you. It's not because they can't. It's because supporting you disables their ability to attach to you. Supporting your growth is going to disable them from being able to circumvent or gouge your energy. Get you into a state of emotional imbalance, basically, and be able to feed from you. Whether it be via getting money from you or getting time from you. Remember, everything down here is energy. So down at this level, like, it can be something as such as if you are no longer in a relationship where you're going in a back and forth And they're always there while you were going through, they're going through their conflicts, so they reflect to you based on your back and forth. So they got you out late night drinking, they got you out smoking, they got you out withdrawn away from dealing with things, causing further conflict and further strain on the space. If they can't do that anymore, they can't feed from you. They can't hit you with the same conversation that they hit you with last week. They can't hit you with like, you know how men are. You know how these hoes are. They can't hit you with that anymore. No one can hit me with any of that shit because they've been far enough removed. No one can hit me right now talking about, no one can tell me based on the tradition of a 9-to-5 constriction that it's hard to set the tone and actually grow and build. No one can tell me that. It's impossible. No one can tell me that it's impossible to do something because I am the example for impossible. I am the creator of creating through the impossible. I'm sitting here right now giving you this information, giving you this light via my living room. The music that you're hearing in the background, I produced on Saturday. Finished it up and mastered it on Sunday. All the ads and everything you're going to see regarding this episode, the artwork that you're looking at, from the artwork to when you look at the weekly reading, you looking at the ads on my Facebook and Instagram, wherever else you may see it. All of that was edited in-house right here, right from this spot. So when someone tells you it's impossible, how the hell is it impossible? Everything from the music to the sound check to the mic, I took all of that time from all of those previous investments. And this is why I sit here as I light up and I celebrate COVID-19. Because when COVID-19 hit and that $600 a week was coming through based on my other investments of my savings, that extra little $600 along with my other aspects of unemployment hit, I sat here and launched the website. The website cost $324 to launch. My Spotify, my Shopify.com website for my clothing and the merchandise, that shit cost me $30 a month. It cost $324 to run my website for 2 years. 2 years worth of 36 months. So I ain't got to pay that for another 36 months. But I took that from that fucking paycheck. Because I already set myself in position to be able to do it. And that's one of those key aspects. I remove loopholes that would have me sitting on my ass, be like, well, you know, ain't nobody really gonna do this right here, do this right here. Most of my rotations and spins and downloads from my podcast came from motherfuckers sitting in the house not being able to move. So it was an ample time for me to actually start dropping more information in the podcast. Most of my lectures in the growing my subscribers on my lectures, it came from that chaotic space of everybody sitting down in their house not being able to move. I learned how to maximize from that space. The knowledge from that space hit my neutral point, and I learned how to eat. This is all about learning how to eat in this space, learning how to prepare yourself. There's no such thing as oppression for me. There's no such thing as oppression and struggle for me. The only thing I don't worry about shit. I don't sit here and worry. I don't stress. Because if I'm stressing and worrying, if I'm struggling or if I'm oppressed, then guess what I'm going to look for? I'm going to look for things that are based upon trends to stay within oppression. I'm going to look for I'm going to connect to that giant trend that is oppression. I'm going to attach to that giant trend that is to struggle. I'm going to attach to that. And I'm not going to do the work I need to do to invest. Look at the movie Pelham 123 with John Travolta Denzel Washington. What was old Johnny Boy doing when he was sitting in the subway car when he had his phone, when he was on his laptop? Checking stocks. He knew the stocks was going to decrease based on the state of emergency. And he set himself up to be able to eat from that standpoint. Take the same standpoint from Johnny Boy and Halle Berry and Swordfish. Same aspect and thought process. In Swordfish, he got away with it. In Pelham 123, I think he got away. I don't remember the end. But take that aspect. Preparing yourself and being able to invest in any situation. Whether it's by acquiring knowledge, being able to, whether it's the aspect of acquiring knowledge, applying said knowledge, or investing in acquiring more knowledge. This is the aspect of the season. There's no such thing as a losing season. You're either winning or you're learning. You're either applying or you're learning. There is no loss. We understand what death is. Death is the aspect of transitioning. Death is the perfection. Death is that gateway that goes to the DOS that leads you to your more knowledge. So you have to kill off your ignorance to acquire more knowledge. You have to allow something to die. You can't get something without giving something. So I give whatever you give your attention to, that's what has your power. So if I continues to give my attention to lower level aspects of myself as to feel good or to feel like I'm better than somebody or feel like I'm superior, then I'm stuck within that space of them looking at me for that aspect. This is the aspect of study all and follow none. I tell everybody, every lecture that I do, towards somewhere within there, I'm going to say study all and follow none. Because that's one of the key aspects. Studying, like, if I'm studying everything, I ain't got time to follow anything. If I'm learning from everything, I have no time to do anything else. So it's impossible for me to be bored. I said it the other morning when I did Meditate and Elevate. The next time you bored, go buy a coloring book. Scribble some lines on a piece of paper. Stimulate yourself that way. Keep your mind going. Keep your mind in the transit of you programming it. That way there's no time for anything else to slide in and program it. That way when things do come up, it doesn't stop you from what you're doing. This what happens for a lot of people when you get into these relationships and then you're not learning from it and you're looking for something to go wrong because you're only based upon trauma. So since you had a traumatic event that you haven't dealt with in your relationships, whether it be business or pleasure or platonic, you look for traumas within your relationship. You do not know how to engage your energy in a healthy manner because you ain't coming from a healthy space. You stuck within that manner. Therefore, what you look for is what you're going to find. So if you're looking for a reason that somebody's acting a certain way or moving a certain way, what are you doing? What is it reflecting in you? You're acting weird. You're not acting the way that you're not acting in a way. What usually happens when people are acting in a way that you're not used to them acting or they're acting weird is they're showing a shadow point that's within you. What would make them act that way? Start studying yourself. Like for me, like there's moments in time where I don't say shit. Won't say anything. Mind my business, sit there, meditate, think about some things. I ain't thinking about nothing serious. I can be creating a whole scenario in my head about killing somebody. Just keeping my fucking training up. That whole thought process in my mind right now, just meditating. Just thinking. Nothing wrong. Just in my own zone. Then I come back out of it and I'm back to normal. I'm back to moving. You need those aspects in time. It becomes weird to certain people, like as you're hearing this tone in the background. You're hearing that tone in the background, that tonal, that bowl in the background. I had it in the first segment. That tone in the background. That's that moment of clarity and silence. A lot of people cannot accept that moment of clarity and silence. A lot of people can't take this moment, this little moment of allowing that bowl to cleanse them, allowing that energy to wave with them. That moment of allowing your everything to come up. This is the aspect of cleansing and clearing yourself. A lot of people think about clearing as in letting go. No, clearing is bringing things out into the open so they have more clarity. The things that come up when you're clearing yourself, the things that come up when you're in that moment of clearing yourself are the things that are next to be dealt with. Not the rent, not the electric bill, not the cable bill, not none of those things. Those are repositories that are on a reciprocal cycle. That means those are always going to come up. So by you sitting here stressing over it this month, why are you stressing over it? That's what's going to come up in you clearing, where you're clearing yourself. Why are you worried about paying your rent every month? Man, because you know my job. No, not external, internal. Remember, all the energy is already there. You can use the simple expression, everybody has the same 24 hours, everybody has the same 7 days a week. What are you doing to reshift your energy? As when I told the weekly reading, we were talking about the 8 of coins. And then we got into the 8 of cups. All of the disappointments that you're feeling or that are coming up, all of the disappointments and the fleeting of feeling to wanting to withdraw, those things come up first because they're the easiest. Those are the negative aspects. Behind the negative aspects are the projected aspects of what you really need to pay attention to. The withdrawal aspect, that's a negative aspect. What's behind withdrawing? What are you withdrawing from? It's a negative aspect. Meaning it's not good or bad, but how does it serve you? How does withdrawing from a certain situation going to serve you? How does me withdrawing from my job serve me? What I'm doing now. How does withdrawing from certain relationships and certain bonds that I had based upon trauma serve me? Now I actually have the intuition. I'm actually healed myself. These are key aspects that we're going to get into in the next little piece of this segment. When we come right back. But before we don't ride this all the way out. But when you're going through that aspect of yourself, moving yourself and taking yourself to the next level, these are the things that you start thinking about. These are the things that should be most focused on your mind at that point in time. What are you thinking about? How are you moving yourself? You found your middle point. You're now finding your middle point. You found your middle point. You went through the dark and you went through the light aspects. You found the transparency of understanding the middle point. You're applying your protection. You're applying your you're applying your rituals for your protection. You're applying your rituals for your abundance and your wealth. You're doing that work. If you're not doing that work at this point in time, that's what's going to come up to help you find that middle point. You have to, as I'm saying always, you have to understand and accept your level of being. As those layers remove themselves, the things that need to be dealt with, that's what's going to grow your transparency. Until you understand the aspects of becoming more transparent, understanding both sides of that coin are one and the same, just the shadow aspects and the light aspects, then you can't move forward. You get stuck. And then you're going to be stuck chasing trends. Chasing the trend of fear and oppression and all of these things. Just to fit in. I ain't trying to fit in because I ain't trying to come back. The line in The Lord of War with Nicolas Cage, he was like, I don't want to be remembered because that'll mean I'm dead. That was a crucial line. I don't want to be remembered because that means I'm dead. I was like, damn, that's some deep shit. That's an aspect that you start speak that mantra to yourself. I don't want to be remembered because I'm dead. That means I'm dead. I don't need to be remembered. I don't need to be remembered simply because as I'm sitting here right now, I have content and I'm building myself and I'm building my legacy. I'm building myself. I'm building a legacy to stand on. I want to be celebrated when I transition. So if I'm celebrated when I transition, I'm always going to be celebrated. All of my information, all of my work will be celebrated. Find that middle point. We breaking free of those trends. We gonna get a little deeper. A little bit after this, after we switch over to tape or switch over to the next segment. Thank you for choosing the God Hour. Y'all all right out there? I can feel it calling me in the air. Wanting me to do something else, but I can't. I'm sorry. But yeah. So we just went through the aspects of understanding, finding that middle point. We just went through the aspects of the trend to fit the wave. Never try to fit no damn wave. First, understand that you are the wave. Understand that you're the water. Then understand that you're the wave. And then the wave spends time understanding that it's the ocean. And then the ocean spends its time understanding that it's the moon. And then the moon understands it's that horizon, it's that sun. It's always going to rise. That's the key aspect for you when you're moving forward, whatever you're doing. Stop trying to fit all these narratives and set your own course. The course that you set, of course, be confident within your course. But the most important part of that is accepting. This is what I got to tell a lot of people. Accepting the aspect. Accepting this is the most important part of this. Accepting when information this is how you accept when new information arises. This is one of the aspects when I tell people a lot of times. This is how you set yourself up for the tone of accepting when new shit arises. You have to be able to accept when that new stuff arises, the new information, the new flow, all of that new stuff arises. Because if you don't, what are you doing it for? Your aspect, one thing that I look at that I'm proud of for myself is, and I was having a conversation with a long time ago about this, and it's always great to be able to reiterate. I'm not doing any of the stuff that I do to be in a position where I was just last year. If I'm in a position, at the position I'm in now, I'm grabbing my water. I'm in the position that I'm in now. Nothing in my position that I'm in now is entangled in what I was in last year. Nothing that I'm in now is entangled in what I was in last year. I'm not entangled with it. Everything is parallel. The parallel points of the parallel points that I've shifted from is what I'm in now. So this time last year, what time is it? I would do this during the song. Hey, right now it's 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock p.m. It's a Monday. Right now, this time last year, around this same time, I'd actually be doing the podcast. But it would be a rut. No, wait. This time last year, I'd be working on the podcast. Right now, I'm working on the podcast. But before I actually started doing this aspect of the podcast, doing all the voices and everything, I was working on the videos. Check out Rock Collar Needs, the Facebook page. Check out the Instagram, PapaLucy666. Follow me on Twitter. I'm gonna actually start posting more stuff, pictures and videos on Twitter to get that up. And moving all my stuff around. I'm sitting in the space. I'm comfortable. I'm not rushing. This time last year, I would be rushing. I would feel rushed. I would feel time constrained. Because right now it's 7 o'clock. And I'd be sitting here like, okay, cool. I got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got to be up at 4:30 in the morning. The first bus run at 6, so I got to have my smoothie and everything packed up in my bag, or I got to make sure I got a lift ready by that time to get to work, just to go sit outside of my job. And I'd be sitting there. I would end up doing a God Thought live, do a live version of the God Thought, getting a little bit of information out. And I'd be sitting there, okay, cool, I got that done. But I'd be in a time constraint. I'd be sitting here rushing, trying to get all this stuff together. And then just to not be able to relish in the moment of what I'm doing. This is that key aspect of understanding those parallels of where you're not at where you were at. I'm sitting in a position right now where that's not something that's going to stop me from saying what I need to say. Because there was a lot of things that I have not said. If you go back, if you go to my YouTube channel, Gouging Alchemist, the YouTube channel, and look at the lives that I loaded up on there. You can just go there for like a quick nexus point. Look at the things I was saying. The things I was saying at that point were actually declarations of where I'm at now. When I did the Where's Home Part 1 and Part 2, when I did You Are a God, when I did sustaining, are you sustaining, or are you just dieting? Are you truly trying to become enlightened and become spiritual, or are you just dieting based on the trends? All those talks that I did, the generation of us, I went into certain topics, but I didn't hit certain points in those topics based on where I was at that point in time. So now to the fact that I'm actually sitting here able to go deeper into these topics and pull this information down and put it back out, put out this new light, is based on that parallel. I'm in a different parallel. I'm in a free space to create all I want. I do exactly what I want because I've done the disciplines to do what I want. I stopped putting myself in the disciplines of doing what I can. So that position when I was at my job, when I was working at traditional 9 to 5, when my shit started getting cut, I didn't get upset. Because that ushered me into when the COVID-19 thing hit, there was nothing to be upset about. I was already in a position. It's all about accepting your level, acknowledging your level of being, accepting what you need to do at that point, finding that middle point, becoming that middle point, understanding the aspects of becoming transparent into that middle point. That way you're able to see the trends that everybody falls for, the okie dokes that everybody falls for, the thought process that everybody falls for. A lot of people fall for these okie dokes and think that's what they're supposed to be doing next. You can take this as the example. When the entanglement thing came out, think about how many people came out talking about the entanglement thing. When the Black is King Beyonce shit came out, think about everybody that jumped onto that wave. When this Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion thing came out, think about everybody that jumped onto that wave. When George Floyd thing came out, think about everybody that jumped onto those waves. And now when I'm saying this, I can take that middle point and I can see where people were doing exactly what they were supposed to do with the information based on their purpose of what they're supposed to be doing. And I can tell the others that were jumping into that position based upon having something else to argue and debate over. Being able to stay at their point and not rise up anywhere. Staying within the same narrative of oppressions and the same narratives of struggle. Staying in that position. Energy gouging from that position. Feeding from that position. Getting fat in that position. Only hungry, remember, your hunger changes. Your hunger truly changes. Just like when you start investing in different things, your hunger changes based on your investments. Your hunger increases based on those investments. My hunger to invest is heavy. I said the other week that I spent $333 on books. And probably in the next couple of weeks, I'm about to drop another decent amount of cash on some more books. Some books that I've already read, some books that I've already fingered through. I got downloads and channels through them, and now I want that physical copy in my hand to do some more work, to actually go study through. So my hunger for investing is real. My hunger for wanting to grow and wanting to be abundant and learn and open to learn, and my core devices of myself to go to the next level, that shit is hungry. That's my hunger. And since my hunger is fueled by that core aspect, those core aspects, the distractions aren't going to get me. The argument, to be argumentative, ain't going to get me. I ain't arguing. Even before, I won't argue with you with shit. Before, when I used to argue, when arguments subsued based upon my traumas and things I didn't deal with, I try to immediately fix it. Now, I'm going to say this. Here is the information that backs up what I'm saying. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. Take that book, read through that book. What's your interpretation of that book? Then you can come to me and we can have a conversation. But until you went through just the knowledge aspects that I've went through and studied, there is no conversation. Until you've done the work, there is no conversation about shadow work with me. Other than, here's my question about shadow work. Okay, I can give you an answer. Here's my interpretation based on what I've done in parallel. May not be the same, but it had the same algorithm. This is the separation and coming into unity based upon your intuition. A person that has not worked on themselves, there's a saying, a man that has not worked on themselves shall bleed out onto everything that comes around them. When I say man, that's in the aspect of human. For anybody that has not done any work, has not done the work to themselves, when they come into a position, they shall bleed all over them. And that shall leave them stained. They'll leave them fucking in the same position. Take the position of my yacht. Since everybody want to use the my yacht and all this shit. Woman's highest calling is to lead a man to his highest self. Her lowest calling is to leave a man astray. Man's highest aspect is to provide the space for the queen or the woman to rise. Let's break that shit down. The feminine aspect or the feminine participle, the feminine part of this, that feminine energy, the nurturing, the caring, these things, those are the things that take the knowledge based on that circle, on that rhythm. The masculine aspect or the knowledge or what is provided to be protected to allow it to go. If it's not going to challenge me to grow, then how can it be nurtured? How can I nurture it if I'm not challenging myself to grow? That's all about becoming the divine masculine. That's all about becoming the divine feminine. Every situation that comes up, you're able to use that energy to take yourself to the forefront. That's just like right now. Everybody's talking about this Meg Thee Stallion Cardi B song. In about 3-4 months, 3-4 years, somebody's going to take that dang same song and use that energy built from that same song and tie it to Kali. I can almost guarantee that shit. Tied to Kali and Shakti energy, pulling down energy. Use it as energy. I said the thing about Cardi B back in the day, back then, talking about that's Kali and he's sticking out the tongue and causing mayhem. Use it to understand, to break the original paradigm. Because all you're able to say is based on what she's saying is stuck within a narrative that no longer even, that you have far past succeeded based upon humanity. There's one song she says she don't cook, she don't clean, but she got the ring. I just heard a song coming back from Where the hell was I at? I don't even remember where the hell I was coming from. But I heard another song said, they said you party all the time, and some dude said, they say you party all the time, you ain't wifey material, but I want you. They said you too wild and you don't listen, but I love you. Address that shit. That's the other half of that balance. That's the other half of that. So that archetype of person that's pulling at that energy is attracted to that type of aspect. Are you attracted to that aspect? Share your interpretation based on learning from why you're not part of that aspect. I listened to a live way back in the day before I talked about untrained sex healer, the untrained aspects of an untrained sex healer. They're untrained sex healers. Because the same energy that they're providing is not good or bad. It's how it's being used based upon trauma. So when I see that, I'm like, oh, there's traumas they haven't dealt with. There's traumas they truly haven't dealt with because they stay within that paradigm or in that narrative. The top point of that is they're entertainers. They're doing what they're paid to do. So why would I be upset at an entertainer for doing what they're supposed to do? Why would I bring any energy, allow any of my energy to be gouged to go into that situation? Boil that all the way down into the aspect of looking at people that happen every day in your life. There's people in your life right now that have no reason to be there. But for some strange reason, you find a reason to be there. Use the status quo, it was their birthday. Use the status quo, they needed a ride. You need the status quo, you know they're going through some things. You use all these status quos of external state, so you never take the time to actually learn from the aspects of them. For the queens, I got an aspect I'm going to throw out for the queens. I'm looking for the one for the divine masculine. I'm going to find the one for the divine masculine. But this was the first one that I pulled up because I found it first. Let me pull it back up because I'm looking at my phone right now. And we'll go deeper into this during the lecture on Friday. I wanted to get, there's 3 aspects that you look at. And these can be interchanged basically when you look at the divine masculine. There's differences in feminine energy. There's the feminine energy itself. There's the wounded feminine energy. Then there's the natural feminine energy. Feminine energy is naturally, and this goes for both aspects. It's receptive, intuitive, inward, calming, home, safe. It's a natural space and essential. The wounded feminine aspect is neediness, codependency, stress, manipulative, powerless, victim mentality, withholding, and non-sensual. And I'm gonna use the same thing to break down the aspects of the masculine, because I can use that from this. The natural feminine is unconditional love, stillness, tenderness, nurturer, sensitive, radiant, flow energy, creative, intuitive, and feeling. Now we're going to take these same aspects and break them down into the masculine aspect. Since the masculine aspect is the natural masculine energy, the feminine energy is receptive. That means the masculine aspect is the opposite archetype of what is receptive. Matter of fact, while we sitting here letting the music run, I'm going to keep talking while I'm looking it up. I'm going to Google it right now. I'm going to Google it. Light up real quick. Now, what were we just looking at so I can pull it up? Okay, we're going to go to my Google. Google, bitch, research. All right, we're going to hit this button. I'm going to speak it right now. Differences in masculine energy. My bad. It had to. Damn. I didn't mean to hit that. That was the wrong shit. Oops. Wrong button. All right, cool. Let it hit up real quick. Differences. Damn. I keep making this do the wrong shit. I'm talking about differences in masculine energy. Let's see if it pulls up a chart that I can pull off of. we're going to go deeper into this Friday. But I wanted to get this key point out before we get to that plug talk. Or we might end this into another segment. All right, go to images. All right, cool. Masculine energy. I got masculine. I got left masculine, feminine masculine energy. Okay, cool. So since we're going to look at the aspects of masculine energy. All right, cool. I got it right here. I'm going to pull this little chart up because I got this chart right now. It's always good to have that. Finding that balance. It's a finding that balance chart. All right, we're going to download it. We're going to read over this real quick. I got it downloaded in there right now. Open that joint up right now. We're going to pull it because we got about 10 more minutes. All right, cool. Masculine energy naturally to the counterpart is projective, active, giving, expansive, and outward. Because remember, the feminine natural energy is receptive, passive, contractive, intuitive, and inward. So it's a counterpart balance. Natural masculine. Actually, we're going to go to wounded masculine first. Perpetrator, abuse of power, dominance, aggression, control, competitive, confrontational, criticism, abuse, avoidance, unsupportive, unstable. Those go to the aspects of the wounded feminine, which would be the victim, the powerless, the weakness, the manipulation, the withholding, the neediness, the codependency, the oversensitive and over-emotional. Let's look at the natural masculine or the divine masculine archetype. Confidence, inner strength, responsibility, focus, support, stability, direction, protection, clarity, boundaries, courage, discipline, capable, certain, and assertive. Now that we're looking at these aspects, remember when you're studying these aspects, it's similar to if you go get a book to fix your relationship, what you're truly doing, the aspects that are being showed to you based on that relationship, the masculine and the feminine aspects of it, the things that you're seeing within the relationship are the aspects are usually the stereotypes of what it is to be a man. That's what we look at this aspect. So if I'm looking at both sides of these charts and the studying myself to understand myself more, to bring myself into balance, I'm looking at you came down here in the masculine archetype of being the god to understand the goddess archetype. So for the masculine to come into balance with himself to become the divine masculine, you have to understand what it is to be of unconditional love for yourself, what it is to have the understanding of yourself, what it is to nurture those aspects of yourself, having the tenderness or allowing the vulnerability. And I'm looking back and forth. You have to have the confidence in to have the unconditional love for yourself, the understanding of your inner strength, the responsibility for your nurturing, the focus for your the focus of how you're providing that tenderness or that vulnerability to yourself, the focus into your kindness, the logical aspects of becoming more intuitive, the stability in being the stability and what's needed to create the stability in being creative, the direction of how your feelings are projected. This provides the protection of your stillness. This provides that clarity within your flow. This provides the boundaries within your radiance. This provides the courage within your this gives you the courage to surrender, to be open to your tenderness. This gives you the discipline to have the logical aspects to surrender to your emotion, to create the stability, to become capable, to become certain in the direction of allowing your assertiveness. That's the divine masculine archetype. This is how you become the divine masculine. For the divine feminine, you take this same chart. I'm going to post this chart. You take this same chart and you're studying the divine masculine aspects. How do these divine masculine aspects connect to you, and how do you use them to move forward? This is the balance. This is understanding. When you are in full balance, there's no room for loopholes. If you're coming from the wounded, let's say you come from the wounded masculine art, you can start using these aspects, and you look at the wounded masculine, the perpetrator, the confrontational, always wanting to argue. When you argue with somebody, you're initiating the masculine archetype of yourself. It doesn't matter if you are the king, the queen, or the god or the goddess. If you're the goddess and you're confrontational, you're acting off of your masculine archetype. Whenever you're acting like the victim or acting like you need neediness or codependency as the god, and you got a codependent ass dude that's been in your life, he's actively within the feminine energy. So the reason that he's there in your life is to learn how to bring that into balance. He's showing you something that's misbalanced and misinterpreted within inside you based on the masculine energy. That's the aspect of learning, going back and forth, understanding and finding your balance. We're going to get deeper into that. We definitely going to get deeper into that throughout the week, and especially deeper on Saturday, because that lines right up with the succubus and the incubus model that I'm working on for this Friday's lecture. But yeah, just stating these aspects and putting them out there, it changes the narrative. It changes how you look at things, because we're looking at things based on, I'm a man and I got to do this, this, and this. The things that most men activate on are from the wounded perspective. Most of the things that women that say they want to be women, they activate based upon the wounded feminine perspective. And what you see now is a crossing of that gender aspect, where you got men that are acting as wounded females. Most people, like, you see this conflict imbalance. Everybody acting like a wounded female right now. Since you're acting in your wounded aspect of the polarity of the wounded feminine, the only thing that you're going to connect to is that wounded masculine. And that's where it's hitting it. Might end up doing a lot. I don't know. I might get into more of these aspects tonight. Might get into these aspects during the God Hour show. We're going to get deeper into that as we go out throughout the week. But that's an aspect that you got to look at. Understanding which side to find your balance. You came down here to study the feminine aspects. The feminine came down here to study the masculine aspects. So even with this, me studying on this, how can you even be bored? Think about it. Wow, I'm glad that I found that. And I got it saved up. I'm going to write the notes out on that. We're going to get deeper into the aspects of that left and right hemisphere. We're going to get really deep into this Friday. I already see what I'm going to do. Let me pull up that found the balance in that. Masculine qualities are the logic, the reason, the action, the firm, the survival, the loyal, the adventurous, the rational, the strength. The feminine qualities are intuition, nurturing, healing, gentle, impressive, wise, patient, emotional, and flexible. Yeah, we gonna go deep. We gonna go real deep into this. Ooh, I even found my notes. I got notes written on this and I forgot about. The soul self. We got one more minute. We don't ride on this, bro. It's all the way out. The soul self is power, wisdom, and love. In a healthy, balanced human integrity and unlocking and become the God aspect. This is what you're coming down here to learn on. Honors the rights and the self of others, the courage. The uncaring aspect and weakness is cowardice and despair. The unhealthy masculine side is that unhealthy masculine aspect of yourself is that weakness, the low value of own life, angry, fearful, intimidated, bravado, bragging and showing off, foolish, risk-taking, doubling, indecisive, inassertiveness, and unreasonable. We got some notes. We gonna do some work. We gonna put in some work. We putting in some work. We putting in some work this week. We putting in some work over here at the God Power. That shit just came through. That is the exact notes that we needed. But yeah, be the best at you. We about to take this to the plug talk. We got one more break, and then we'll hit that plug talk. Then we'll hit that closeout. Thank you for choosing the God Hour podcast. It's Papa Lucy. I love y'all. We love us. Ashe. Of course, we had to leave you plugged in. Always got to leave you plugged in with everything that's going on with the God Alchemist. In that plug talk, leaving y'all plugged into the energy. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I know y'all enjoyed this episode of the God Hour podcast as we got into them loopholes. As you know, GodAlchemistLLC.com is the home for all of the services, from the guided meditations to the natal chart analysis to center the counseling, the life coaching, the therapy sessions, the spiritual baths, the spiritual drawing, invoking rituals, all those aspects on there. More is to come. I'm building every single moment that I get a chance. I'm building. It's steady coming through this ship. I'm loving the ship. I'm loving the energy since before the Lions Gate opened. And this is the aspect of showing that example of getting my shit. Getting everything that you want. Taking yourself to the next level. If you're interested within business, networking, ad space, becoming a part of the podcast by way of an interview, you have a thought that you would like to expound upon, hit me up at setcarlonegus @gmail.com, and we'll set that dialogue up and get you onto the show. We can do a nice little back and forth little build based on that. I do not debate. I do not do arguments. So the talk we gonna do is be a very conscientious build on something that resonates with you, that you feel is needed for the world to bring to the light. For the personal aspects, such as you have any questions about the book list, you have any questions about readings, my services, any services that you do not see on the site, see if I provide those. I just haven't put a lot of stuff onto the site yet. We're still building because I'm still perfecting a lot of things. But there's nothing for you to do but hit Papa Lucy 666, that's the number 666, @gmail.com. Or always, as always, you can hit the line 910-777-7708. So many ways to get in contact with me, so many ways to show support, from the Cash App link being Lucifer Somni, all the way to the becoming a monthly Patreon on the podcast at Anchor FM /Godico Alchemist. Become that patron on there. Also, subscribe, love, share the God Hour. I'm at the Godico Alchemist, the YouTube channel. This all stemmed from there. And we're getting into this week, this Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Last week we got into the Dark Side of the Moon. This week we're getting into succubus and incubus. I touched on the succubus and the incubus a little bit in the Skin Folk lecture, and I touched on it a little bit in the SEX, or the Sacred Energy Exchange lecture. And something tapped me on my shoulder to talk about that energy based on being asleep. The aspect of being asleep, by the definition of what a succubus is, or an incubus is. And we're gonna go, we always go deeper into these esoteric understandings to further separate us away from the humanity. So tune in to that 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Friday night lecture. I'm liking the beat. besides that, tune in tonight, every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Facebook Live exclusive. We do the God Hour show. Every Sunday, every other Sunday or every Sunday. I haven't put the nexus in for that. We're going to be doing the Papa Lucy Sunday service. Papa Lucy Sunday service, Papa's Nightcap, all of that is going to be going forward. All we're doing is building over here and growing over here. I just wanted to take this time out again to appreciate all the support from the ones that have been from the beginning to the ones that have seen me grow from before me even taking on the role of the Goutico Alchemist and fully coming into myself. I like to thank y'all for that. I like to thank all the supporters. I like to thank the ones that come for the services, come for their readings. All that's much appreciated because it helps me learn as you learn. As you get clarity, I learn. And that's the main part. We're growing over it. There's no point to come back here. As I always say, team No Baby Brain, we do not plan on coming back here. We are incarnators, not reincarnators. Yeah. Ain't no way out of this. Only way out is to learn. Only way out is to learn what you hate. Embrace what you love. And create. Stay tuned for the close-up. This has been another episode of God Hour Podcast. Peace. Doing what I want to do every single day. I hope y'all love that plug talk. This Friday we are getting into the aspects of the succubus and the incubus. We just had a little preview of the aspects, and we're going to be getting into the notes. I'll be posting it. If you're ever interested in notes on the lectures, pre-notes on the lectures of the aspects where I get it from, book list, any information like that, just hit up the email address. papalucy666@gmail.com. That's my job. I'm as the teacher, as the teacher and the student, as the teacher, the student, the guidance, the guide. That's my job. I'm supposed to give you that. I'm giving you that information. That's what you need. But we just went over the aspects. The last thing we went over the balance, the flaw of trying to fall into that trend of the wave. We got into the aspects of finding that middle point. There's so many more key points that we can learn and get into throughout the week, of course. Stay tuned for all that through the Meditate and Elevate, through the God Hour show. We're going to get a little deeper into the divine and masculine archetypes. And that's all going to be building up for this Friday's lecture. Succubus and incubus. I forgot what I titled that shit. Because it's up right now. It's actually up right now. Like, the preamble or the pre-point of it is actually up right now. It's ready to go. It's like, you can go on there, hit the like, set your reminder. I did it earlier because I have the ample amount of energy to do it now. Super crazy. I'm about to do this. I'm thinking about this Kundalini yoga thing I was looking at earlier. Start doing some of that in my life. Just to learn some new shit. But yeah, what I got it as? Oh, that shit is not showing up as I needed it to show up. Let me go back to it, flip through real quick. Let it flow. Let it go. 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 Somebody has asked me like, yo, you make all this music, but you ain't being a producer. I was like, that ain't what I'm doing it for. If somebody wants to purchase a beat or something, then sure. But that's not going to be my aspect into doing at this aspect in time. Like, I'm not going to be making music for people. That's just not me. But where is it at? 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 It's in here. I saw it because I posted it my damn self. Go back. Go to subscriptions. Go to my subscription piece. I'm subscribed on my own page, so I have the link. Succubus and incubus. Protecting and nurturing the lust for existence. That is going to be this Friday's topic that we are going to get into. I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of aspects of what it's about. How I started it. Oh man, go out of there. I don't want that no more. Go away. Flip, do the little flip thing. There we go. Let me look at this real quick. Pull down the. To exist is to be acceptable. To exist is to be acceptable to external programs. The normal to fit in. The succubus and the incubus, according to the mythos, seek interfacing through sacred energy exchange with the sleeper. We are going to go into the breakdown into the sleep, what the sleep state is, and allows the ego, the succubus or the incubus energy, to create a lust to exist in order to understand, in order for us to understand the aspect of love and death. What most call sex is invoking best on the internal state. Remember, everything is energy, so everything can be exchanged. But we're getting into that aspect. I appreciate y'all for stopping by for a little bit, coming to Papa Lucy's spot. Tune in, if you're listening to this, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Facebook Live. If you're not following me on Facebook Live, setcarlonegus is the page. If you're not following me on setcarlonegus, you can also check out the God Hour Podcast Live Edition page, where I put all the information up for the podcast, everything related to the podcast. Kings, for God Kings, Ankh, and Goddess Queens. That's the other page that is up. That is for all the meditating elevates and all the other information regarding the lectures and all that aspect. Papa Lucy's Sunday service, that's the page for that. There's multiple pages because there's multiple paths. The aspect of me creating an example of multiple streams to get to that same light. All of them lead to me. All of them, in that aspect, everything leads back. Everything always leads back to your internal self. That's the aspect of me doing it that way. But what are you taking forward when you take the information in and finding your middle point, acquiring that knowledge, taking yourself to the next level? These are key aspects in taking yourself to the next. This is key aspects of getting you to that next point. I don't plan on coming back here with baby brain. If you don't plan on coming back here with baby brain, remember that study all, follow none mentality is the key aspect. The only time that somebody follows me is based on the mentorship of the information that I keep putting out, keep matching their algorithm. That's the only time someone's gonna follow me. I'm like, yeah, follow me. That's the only time I'm actually following somebody on a website or whatever based on their information and that just connecting to that energy in order for me to grow my damn self. That's the connection aspect of growing into that unity. That's my interpretation for it. Like everybody, I say it all the time. Like everybody on my page is motherfucking winners or growing into becoming winners. Everybody on my page, ever since my page dropped down and came back up into the followings on all my social sites, everybody on there is grinding. Everybody on there is acquiring to be something. They all in LLC mindsets. They all in that growth mindset. Ain't nobody on my page really stuck in something. Ain't no one stuck in a polarity on my page, and I'm noticing that. And the people that do come onto my page after a while, they if they're not in the frequency or at that vibratory rate, by the time they're done, they're in the vibratory rate. That's my purpose. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm cultivating that shit for the masses. The mass that reflects everything that reflects me. Remember, today's the only day that matters. Because today is the only true day. To become the day. You are the only one that matters. Because you are the focal point. Because everything around you reflects you. You are of everything. You are of that essence. You are of that strength. You are of everything. You are be of and not a part. Be above as you are below. Be as within as you are without. Learn, grow. If you hate it, that means you don't understand it. Learn it. Once you learn it, embrace it. When you embrace it, you love it. And then that's how you transition on to the next level. Keep repeating them steps and I guarantee you're going to take it to the top. What I forgot to add, hour consultation with me. Get that hour call. Take that hour phone call with me. Invest that $90. It's the best conversation that you're going to have based on you wanting to grow. I can guarantee it based on you wanting to grow. That's the only guarantee I put out there. I want you to grow. I want you to be the best because I'm becoming the best. Therefore, you are the reflection of becoming the best. If it resonates with you, take that shit, share that shit, make that shit make you the best. I love you. We love us. And as always, we say Ashe. Thank you for choosing the God Hour. This has been season 3, episode 27, Loopholes. I love y'all. We love us. Ashe. Peace.